This video is heavily inspired by my own inner dialogue from when I was sick last week, and I'll share more on that personal story a little later. But first, if you've ever been sick, like genuinely unwell, and still couldn't rest, not because you had somewhere to be, but because your mind wouldn't let you rest. You're in bed, but mentally, you're hoovering the house, you're aching, but you're planning how you're going to make up for it later. You feel guilty. You feel lazy, even dramatic, like you're being a nuisance or something. And maybe you hear that voice inside that says, other people just push through it. Stop being so weak. You should still be productive, even though you're unwell. Just do something, anything, little. Yeah, I know. And today, I want to name what's really happening, because this guilt isn't random at all. It has roots. It has cultural roots. It has nervous system roots, and it has Ayurvedic roots, along with parts of you. And if you're someone who carries that particular flavor of guilt, that good girl guilt, that people pleaser guilt, that I'm a burden if I rest guilt, this video is especially for you, because your body doesn't just need a day off, okay? It needs safety. It needs permission. It needs to feel that rest is allowed without punishment. And I'm going to offer one practice that can help settle that restlessness, that can help you come back to yourself, your body, so that it can actually do what it's designed to do when you are sick, and that is to repair. Hi, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Tajbir, a qualified yoga and Ayurveda practitioner, founder of Samya Wellness, and on this channel, we explore ancient wisdom for modern life through yoga, through Ayurveda, through nervous system healing, tarot, energy healing, and inner work that helps you come back into relationship with yourself. Because Samya means balance, not perfection, but as a living relationship with your body, your breath, your mind, and your inner rhythms. Now let's talk about guilt. This guilt is one of those things that actually I hear a lot of people just joking about, going, I feel so bad, I can't rest. But it's really not funny when you're actually in it, because it can turn being ill into a complete mental battleground. You're not just fighting a fever or fatigue, but alongside it, you end up fighting a lifetime of mental conditioning, inner conditioning that says rest must be earned. Being cared for is a weakness. Slowing down is laziness. And your worth is measured by output. And if you're a woman, especially a South Asian woman, there can be even more layers added in there around identity, duty, and love, and productivity, responsibility, and guilt as the leash that keeps you constantly performing. So we're going to peel this back gently, layer by layer, and we'll do the practice to calm your nervous system at the end. Now, we live inside a culture where productivity isn't just a behavior. It becomes almost like a belief system. It becomes a morality. So when you rest, it can feel like you're doing something wrong, like you're not a good person for doing it. And hustle culture teaches us that rest is a reward. Burnout is normal, pushing through is admirable, and being low energy is somehow some sort of personal failure. And then what happens? Illness happens. And illness forces you to face the truth. The truth that you're not a machine, that your body has seasons, your body has limits, your body has needs, actual needs. And when you get sick, your body's intelligence is literally trying to redirect that energy away from this external performance that we have and back into healing. But when your identity is built on, I cope by doing, the moment you stop doing, you don't just lose productivity, you can feel like you're losing your self-worth. So, of course, guilt is going to show up. Guilt is often the mind's way of trying to keep you attached to the identity that once kept you safe. So, why can rest actually trigger anxiety? Here's the deeper truth. For a lot of people, rest isn't relaxing at all. Rest is actually quite activating, because rest creates space. It creates space where feelings can rise, space where all of the sensations that have been muted through doing, through keeping busy, suddenly become really loud, really audible, and your body begins to speak. And if you learned consciously or unconsciously that your needs are inconvenient, then stopping can bring up that old fear that if I rest, I'll be judged. If I rest, I'll disappoint someone. If I rest, something or another will go wrong. So the nervous system says, okay, I'm going to stay on. Even when the body is begging to go off, and you can see this in people, that when they rest, they don't actually rest. They rest productively. They rest while researching. They rest while planning. They rest while apologizing. They rest while thinking, what should I be doing right now? And trust me, I have a badge for every single one that I have just named right now. And honestly, that's not rest at all. That's just hypervigilance disguised, masked as self-care. And the nervous system doesn't heal in hypervigilance. It heals in safety. So last week, I was really unwell. I got sick. I got this head cold. I had all the symptoms, the coughing, the body aches, the fever. And the strangest part wasn't even the illness. It was the guilt that came up. I noticed in myself that I was like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. And I was listing the things, and I was sat at my desk making a list. And I was like, I should be hoovering and I should be doing X, Y, Z. And I was like, hold on, Tajbir, what's going on here? And I had to pause and really listen to the voice. And that voice sounded like my inner critic, along with that good girl people pleasing. And I realized that this isn't about this moment. It's old. It's linked to places and people and situations that were a part of my life that are no longer a part of my life, that made me feel a certain way when I was sick and unwell. And I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do at that time. And quite honestly, I was struggling to rest because somewhere inside me, rest still felt unsafe because it was linked to these past experiences of people telling me, you know, you're lazy, you just need to push through. It's not that big of a deal. You've got to get on with it. And I'm sure I'm not alone when I kind of am sharing this, especially as a South Asian female, because many of us have been taught love through service, not always by words, but through observations. And I know from my personal experience, we often watched the women in the home unwell, but still cooking, exhausted, but still still cleaning, because what if someone so comes over? What's it going to look like? Emotionally depleted, but still having to host family and so on. Still smiling and insisting, no, I'm fine, everything's okay. Yay. That fake smile, you know? And there's that unspoken rule. A good woman does not take up space. A good woman does not need too much. A good woman keeps things moving, keeps things ticking. So when you're sick, rest can trigger a specific type of shame. I'm being dramatic, I'm being lazy, I'm being a nuisance. And the tragic part is that sometimes we have learned that directly. Maybe, like I have been told, stop lying down, get up and do something. You're making a fuss over nothing. It's just a bit of a cold. Other people have it worse. So we have absorbed it directly, indirectly, because in the household, care wasn't given freely, it was earned. Or it was given with resentment, or it came after you'd already overextended yourself and it was like, oh, okay, now you deserve the rest. So quite frankly, your nervous system learned that it's safer to overfunction than to be cared for. It's safer to people please than to need for yourself. And then what happens? Illness comes and it forces you into needing. So the guilt here is not random at all. I need you to know that it's a protector. And we're going to come into that in a little bit. But let's talk about the Ayurveda first, because Ayurveda gives us a language that many people feel, but we can't quite name. So when you're sick, especially when there's fatigue, there's anxiety, there's insomnia, there's all these scattered thoughts, this is an indication that Vāta, the air element in the body, has become aggravated. Vāta is linked with movement, is linked with breath, it's linked with nerves, the impulses, the circulation, and thought processes. So when Vāta is high, the mind ends up feeling really restless and scattered and all over the place, or really high alert and sensitive, and unable to be grounded and to land. So you can be physically exhausted, but mentally wired. And Ayurveda also describes the mind through the gunas. So there's the sattva guna, which is clarity, steadiness, presence. The rajas guna is activity, agitation, striving. Tamas guna is heaviness, dullness, wanting to shut down. When you're ill, your body wants to be in tamas in a good way. It needs that deep rest. It needs the heaviness. It needs the sleep. But if you've been trained to fear the stillness, the mind flips into rajas. So you're sick and your mind is sprinting. What if I fall behind? What if I'm wasting time? What if people think I'm lazy? What if I'm not doing enough? And what if I'm not good enough? And all of this hyperactivity in the mind, that is a rajas guna. That is that rajas. And Ayurveda would say to settle the Vāta and the rajas, we need the opposite qualities, which is warmth, which is softness, which is steadiness, which is slowness, containment, that reassurance, not motivation, not mindset policing, and not at all is it to be constantly doing. And that's why the practice that I'm going to share in a little bit is intentionally simple and warm, because a Vāta mind doesn't heal through force. It heals through being held. Now let's take this a little deeper, looking at the internal family system. Now, the internal family system teaches that we're not just one voice, we've got many voices, we've got parts within us. So when you're sick, there is a specific part that often takes the lead, it takes the stage, it takes a microphone. And that's the guilt part. But guilt is rarely just that. It's not just guilt. It's usually a protector. I know mine is. It's often a manager part, the part that keeps you functioning. And this part might believe if we stop, everything will fall apart. If we rest, we will lose control. If we need care, we'll be rejected. We'll feel like a burden. We're not useful. We're not safe. So all of this dialogue comes up. And I want you to really, really hear this with lots of compassion held in your heart. That part is not evil. In fact, that part is very loyal. It learned its job, during a time when being easy and helpful kept you safe emotionally, relationally with people, and culturally. So when you're sick and you try to rest, the protector goes into panic mode because rest looks like vulnerability. Rest looks like needing, and needing for many of us has a history attached to it. There's a lot of baggage with it. So instead of fighting that guilt part, we're going to kind of unmesh from it, unblend from it. We're going to create a little bit of space so the self can come forward. And it can come forward with calmness, with curiosity, with lots of compassion. Now, I'm going to guide you through a practice. If you're sick, do the most smallest version, okay? The simplest version that you can. You can listen lying down. You can pause halfway. Do whatever feels right for you. There's no doing it right, okay? So we're going to take this step by step. The first step, let's create some warmth and a bit of weight, the 2 W's I like to call them. Place one hand on your chest and the other one on your belly, or wrap a blanket around your shoulders. If you can, give some element of warmth in here. It can be a warm drink, it can be a hot water bottle, warm socks, anything that feels cozy and warm. And let your body receive this message. I am held. I am safe. The next step, if possible, if you feel safe, close your eyes or just lower the gaze somewhere, soften the gaze, let the jaw unclench, let the tongue rest in the mouth, and just come into a little bit of softness. The next step, we're going to do some gentle breathing. So breathing in through the nose, lengthening the spine slightly, even if you're lying down, and then gently exhale, making that exhale longer, slower, not forcefully, just nice and gentle and slow. So in through the nose and out from the mouth or the nose. We're going to do that one more time. In through the nose and gentle exhale. And now, gently, softly, slowly, I want you to find that guilt part of you. Just take a moment and inside yourself ask softly, the part of me that feels guilty for resting, where do I feel you? Ask yourself. Maybe it's tightness in the chest. Maybe it's a knot in the belly or a buzzing in the head. Could even be a pressure in the throat. Just notice where that arises in your body physically. And then take a few seconds to say to it, I see you. I see you, but I know that I am not you. Now add this phrase in. I notice guilt is here. Name the place where it is. And I am more than guilt. We do that one more time. I notice guilt is here. I am more than guilt. And that's particularly important because we're not trying to delete that part, but we're trying to create space around it. We're not villainizing it. We're trying to recognize and release. Now ask your guilt this question. What are you afraid would happen if I truly rested today? And just wait. Take a few moments, a few deep breaths again to anchor yourself. You might hear things like people will think we're lazy, we'll fall behind, we'll disappoint someone, we'll be judged, we won't be loved, we'll be a burden. Just notice whatever comes up. There's no arguing, there's no judging. Just become a witness. And then gently respond, thank you. I understand why you're scared. Now we're going to offer that part a little bit of a reframe. You can use your own words, or if you like, you can borrow mine. Today I'm sick. Rest is not a reward, it's medicine. I'm not a nuisance for having a body. I don't need to earn care. And then say to that part, you don't have to manage everything right now. Your job today is to help me rest. Take a deep breath in and out and anchor through the breath again. And choose one sentence, repeat it 3 times. It can be anything like, today my job is recovery. Doing nothing is doing healing. I am allowed to be cared for. I release the good girl performance. Let that sentence land on you like a warm, weighted blanket. And when you're ready, slowly return. And know that rest is reclamation, not laziness. And if you felt emotional during all of that, it totally makes sense, because this isn't just about being sick. It's in fact about unlearning a lifetime of trying to prove yourself, perform, earn, minimizing and overfunctioning. And rest in itself can be such a spiritual practice, an Ayurvedic practice. And sometimes resting while sick is not passive. It's an active reclamation of, I will not abandon myself to just stay acceptable. And I want to say this gently but really clearly. If women before you have had to keep moving when they've been unwell, that was their survival. You do not have to inherit that pattern. You can honor them and still choose differently. So if this video resonated or was helpful, please do share in the comments. I'd love to see how the practice landed with you. And what does that guilt voice say when you're sick? Is it the good girl? Is it the caretaker or the taskmaster that just wants to do like mine is? And the parts that you're, afraid of being a burden, naming it is really, really powerful. And if you want more videos where we weave together Ayurveda, nervous system work, energy healing in a really grounded way, then subscribe, and I'll keep building this space with you, for you. And if you'd like a gentle support tool, I'll be leaving my free journaling guide linked in the description below. It's designed to help you return back to your inner rhythms without forcing any drastic resets. And remember, rest is not a luxury, it is a right. And sometimes it's the bravest thing you can do. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your energy, and your presence with me here today. May you always be guided by your inner light and wisdom. See you in the next video.